Imagine a couple earning a combined $125,000 per year. On paper, they should be thriving. They should be building investments, growing their savings, preparing for retirement, and enjoying life without constantly worrying about every bill that arrives. Instead, they're arguing about money almost every month. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And somehow, despite earning far more than they did individually, they feel financially worse off than when they were single and making roughly half as much. The strange part? This situation isn't unusual. It's actually incredibly common. And the reason isn't that they don't earn enough. The reason is that they walked straight into a financial trap that quietly drains wealth from millions of couples every year. A trap so gradual that most people don't realize they're caught in it until years later. My name is Alicia, and over the years I've watched countless couples with impressive household incomes struggle financially while individuals earning significantly less quietly build substantial wealth. If you're currently in a relationship and you've ever wondered why money still feels stressful even though both of you work, or if you want to avoid the financial mistakes that derail so many couples, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if this video helps you. Now let's talk about the trap. Because almost everyone falls into it. When two people move in together and combine their finances, most don't approach it like a business partnership. They don't create a strategy. They don't build a plan. Instead, they throw everything into one giant pool and assume it will somehow work itself out. It's like two rivers flowing into the same lake. Eventually, all the water mixes together, and nobody can tell where any of it came from or where it's actually going. He earns $62,000. She earns $63,000. Together they look at the number and say, "We make $125,000. Suddenly that figure feels huge. And because it feels huge, they start upgrading their lives to match what they believe a $125,000 household should look like. That's usually the exact moment things begin to unravel. Let me show you how this plays out. Meet Ryan and Emma. Before they started living together, Ryan earned about $57,000 a year. He rented a small apartment with roommates and paid roughly $850 per month for his share of rent. His vehicle was 12 years old, fully paid off, and not particularly impressive. Most of his meals were simple and inexpensive. His monthly food spending was usually around $350. All in, his expenses averaged about $2,100 per month. That allowed him to save roughly $1,400 every month, despite having what many people would consider an average income. Emma's situation looked very similar. She earned approximately $52,000 annually. She lived in a modest apartment, drove an older car, kept her spending under control, and consistently saved close to $1,100 each month. Before moving in together, Ryan and Emma were collectively saving around $2,500 every month. That's roughly $30,000 annually. Not bad for two people earning a combined income of about $109,000. Without realizing it, they were already positioned to become wealthy. Then they moved in together. And everything changed. For the first time, they looked at their combined income and thought, "We finally have real money. No more roommates. No more tiny apartments. No more driving old cars. We're earning six figures together now. We deserve a better lifestyle." That thought sounds harmless. But it's responsible for more financial damage than most people realize. Because the moment they started viewing their combined income as permission to upgrade everything, they unknowingly stepped into the two-paycheck trap. Instead of finding a reasonably priced place and keeping their expenses similar to what they had before, they rented a beautiful two-bedroom apartment in a nicer area for $2,700 per month. And honestly, for a couple earning over six figures, that didn't seem unreasonable at all. In fact, most people would have encouraged it. Friends congratulated them. Family members said they deserved it. Social media made it look completely normal. Then came the cars. Ryan decided it was finally time to replace his aging vehicle. His new payment came to about $475 per month. Emma upgraded too. Her payment was roughly $400 monthly. Again, either purchase seemed outrageous on its own. After all, they could technically afford them. Then their eating habits changed. When they were single, both focused on keeping food costs low. But now they were a couple. Date nights became regular. Takeout became more frequent. Weekend brunches became a routine. Their combined food budget jumped from around $650 a month to nearly $1,600. Then came furniture upgrades, subscription services, home decorations, weekend getaways, streaming platforms, concert tickets. Small luxuries that felt completely justified because they now had a combined income that looked impressive on paper. Individually, none of these decisions seemed dangerous. But together, they were creating a completely different financial life, and that new life was far more expensive than either of them realized. By the end of their first year living together, Ryan and Emma were spending nearly $7,300 every month. And here's the crazy part. They genuinely believed this was exactly how things were supposed to work. People constantly told them that living together saves money. You split rent. You share utilities. You divide household expenses. In theory, combining households should make life cheaper. Technically, each of them was spending less individually than they would have spent living alone. But collectively, their household spending had exploded. Before moving in together, they were saving about $30,000 every year. After moving in together, despite earning the exact same income, they were saving closer to $17,000 annually. Think about that for a second. Simply by upgrading their lifestyle, they lost roughly $13,000 per year in wealth-building potential. Not because they earned less. Not because they experienced financial hardship. Not because of an emergency. Simply because their spending rose to match what they believed their combined income should support. This is the heart of the two-paycheck trap. Two incomes create the illusion of financial abundance. That illusion encourages lifestyle inflation. And lifestyle inflation quietly destroys wealth. The reason this happens is surprisingly simple. When you're single and earning $55,000, you don't feel rich. You know exactly where you stand financially. You understand your limits. You naturally make decisions that fit within those limits. You rent modestly. You drive something practical. You think carefully before making major purchases. But when two people combine incomes and suddenly see a household income above 6 figures, something changes psychologically. They start feeling wealthier than they actually are. The number sounds impressive. It feels impressive. And because it feels impressive, spending decisions become easier to justify. A nicer apartment seems reasonable. Car payments seem reasonable. Frequent vacations seem reasonable. Expensive dinners seem reasonable. And technically, all of those things may be affordable. But there's an enormous difference between being able to buy something and being able to buy it while simultaneously building wealth. Most people never learn that distinction. Then the trap becomes even more dangerous. Because eventually, life changes. And life changes are expensive. Fast forward 5 years. Ryan now earns about $68,000 annually. Emma earns roughly $65,000. Together, they're bringing in around $133,000 per year. On paper, they should be in the best financial position of their lives. Higher income. More experience. Better careers. Years of earning power behind them. Instead, they're more financially stressed than ever before. Because they just had their first child. Suddenly everything becomes more expensive. Childcare alone costs nearly $2,200 every month. Their apartment no longer feels large enough. So they upgrade again. Now they're paying about $3,400 monthly for a larger place with an extra bedroom. They purchase a bigger SUV because it feels safer and more practical for a growing family. Insurance costs rise. Medical expenses increase. Baby supplies seem endless. Every new responsibility adds another monthly bill. And before long, their expenses have grown dramatically while their income has barely moved. This is where things become truly eye-opening. Emma starts looking closely at their finances. For the first time, she calculates what her income is actually contributing after all the costs associated with working. Taxes, childcare, transportation, work clothes, meals away from home, all the little expenses that come with maintaining a full-time career. After running the numbers, she realizes something shocking. Her $65,000 salary isn't really adding $65,000 of value to the household. After all the related costs, the actual benefit is closer to $22,000 per year. That's it. She's working full-time. Missing precious moments with her child. Feeling exhausted. Constantly rushing from place to place. All to create about $22,000 of net benefit that immediately disappears into a lifestyle that has become increasingly expensive. Naturally, a question begins to emerge. Would it make more sense for her to stay home? It's a conversation millions of families eventually have. And for Ryan and Emma, it seems like a reasonable discussion. But there's a problem. A huge one. Years earlier, if they had maintained the modest lifestyle they lived before moving in together, the decision would have been simple. Back when they earned $109,000 combined, they were saving about $30,000 annually. That means they were only spending around $79,000 per year. If they had maintained a similar standard of living, Ryan's current income of $68,000 could have covered most of their needs. Life might have required some adjustments, but it would have been manageable. Instead, their lifestyle now requires nearly every dollar of their combined earnings. The apartment, the vehicles, the subscriptions, the childcare, the upgraded standard of living. Everything depends on both paychecks continuing indefinitely. And just like that, they're trapped. Emma can't easily leave her job. Not because they need her income to build wealth. Not because they need it to get ahead. But because they need it simply to sustain the lifestyle they've built. That's what makes the two-paycheck trap so dangerous. At first, it feels like financial success. Then it quietly transforms into financial dependency. You upgrade your life to fit two incomes. Which means you need two incomes to maintain that life. Which means neither person has flexibility anymore. Neither person can easily step away. Neither person can comfortably take a lower-paying opportunity. Neither person can make decisions based purely on what would improve their family's quality of life. Instead, every decision revolves around protecting the lifestyle. And over time, the lifestyle becomes the boss. Not the people living it. Now let's compare Ryan and Emma to another couple who made a completely different choice from the very beginning. Meet Ethan and Olivia. Ethan earns $60,000 per year. Olivia earns $55,000. Together they bring in approximately $115,000 annually. That's actually less than Ryan and Emma. Yet their financial future ends up looking dramatically different. Why? Because when they decided to move in together, they approached the situation differently. Instead of asking, "What can we afford now?" they asked, "What would happen if we continued living the way we already do?" One evening they sat down with a notebook, a calculator, and every financial statement they could find. Then they had a conversation most couples avoid. They looked honestly at their spending, their savings, their goals, and they came up with a simple idea. What if we try to live on one income and save the other? At first the idea sounded extreme. Most people would think it's unrealistic, but they decided to run the numbers anyway. After taxes, Ethan's income provided roughly $44,000 per year in take-home pay. Could two people live on that? Yes. But only if they resisted the temptation to inflate their lifestyle. Instead of renting a luxury apartment, they found a clean one-bedroom apartment for about $1,500 per month. The neighborhood wasn't trendy. It wasn't Instagram-worthy. But it was safe, quiet, and affordable. Neither of them replaced their vehicles. Both cars were older and fully paid off. They continued cooking most of their meals at home. They enjoyed date nights, but they kept them simple. Their vacations were modest. Their furniture was functional. Their expenses stayed surprisingly close to what they had been while living separately. Their total household spending averaged around $3,200 per month, or roughly $38,000 annually. That fit comfortably within Ethan's take-home income. Which meant something powerful happened. Almost all of Olivia's earnings became available for wealth building. Every paycheck she received went directly toward improving their future. Not upgrading their lifestyle. Not funding larger monthly bills. Building wealth. They fully funded both Roth IRAs. They maximized workplace retirement contributions whenever possible. They built a substantial emergency fund. Then they started investing additional money into a brokerage account. Every month their net worth grew. Not because they were financial geniuses. Not because they picked amazing stocks. Not because they had unusually high incomes. Simply because they consistently invested a large percentage of what they earned. In their first year living together, Ethan and Olivia managed to save and invest nearly $50,000. Ryan and Emma, despite earning more money, saved less than half of that. 1 year doesn't seem like much. But years have a way of compounding. Fast forward 5 years. Now the difference becomes impossible to ignore. Ethan and Olivia have accumulated nearly $320,000 in net worth. Their investment accounts have grown significantly. They have no consumer debt. Their cars are fully owned. Their emergency fund is strong. Their investments are beginning to generate meaningful returns on their own. Money no longer feels stressful. Not because they're rich, but because they're making consistent progress. Ryan and Emma's situation looks very different. Despite earning higher incomes over those same 5 years, their net worth sits closer to $90,000. A large portion of that exists inside retirement accounts. They still owe money on vehicles. They carry some credit card balances from various purchases and lifestyle upgrades. Unexpected expenses regularly create financial stress. And despite earning more than Ethan and Olivia, they often feel financially stuck. This is one of the most frustrating truths about personal finance. Income alone does not determine wealth. The gap between what you earn and what you spend determines wealth. And that gap is often far more important than salary. Then both couples enter the exact same stage of life. They have children. This is where the difference in their strategies becomes even more obvious. Olivia decides she wants to stay home with the baby. Not forever. Just during the early years. For Ethan and Olivia, this decision is surprisingly easy. Why? Because they've already been living primarily on Ethan's income. Their lifestyle was designed around one paycheck from the beginning. When Olivia leaves her job, their daily life barely changes. The bills still get paid. The mortgage remains affordable. Their savings rate decreases somewhat, but they're still financially secure. Most importantly, they don't need to spend thousands every month on childcare. Olivia gets the time she wants with her child. Their stress level drops dramatically. And they maintain control over their financial future. Now compare that with Ryan and Emma. Their childcare costs exceed $2,000 per month. Both continue working full-time. Both feel exhausted. Both spend most of their days balancing work responsibilities with parenting responsibilities. By the time they get home, they have only a small amount of time left with their child before starting the entire routine again the next day. Many evenings end with the same question. Why does life feel so difficult when we're making good money? The answer isn't their income. The answer is the structure of their finances. Two couples. Similar salaries. Same economy. Same life stage. Completely different outcomes. All because of decisions made years earlier when they first combined households. And this leads to one of the most important financial lessons couples can learn. Most people think combining incomes multiplies wealth. In reality, it often multiplies temptation. When you're single earning $55,000, there is a natural limit to your spending. You know exactly how much money you have available. You can't easily convince yourself otherwise. But when two people combine incomes and suddenly see a six-figure household income, that spending limit starts feeling much less real. The justifications begin almost immediately. We make good money. We can afford it. We deserve it. It's only a little more expensive. We work hard. Those phrases sound harmless. But over time they become some of the most expensive words a couple can ever say. Here's what most couples never realize. Combining incomes isn't simple addition. It's often multiplication of spending temptation. When you're single earning $55,000, there's a natural spending limit. You know exactly what you can and can't afford. But when two incomes combine into a six-figure household, that limit suddenly feels invisible. A nicer apartment? We can afford it. New cars? We can afford it. Extra subscriptions, vacations, upgrades? We can afford it. The problem is that affordability and wealth building are not the same thing. A household earning $120,000 and spending $110,000 isn't wealthy. A household earning $100,000 and investing $50,000 often becomes wealthy much faster. That's why the most financially successful couples do something that sounds strange to everyone else. They try to structure life around one income. Not because one person shouldn't work, but because keeping expenses low allows the second income to become a wealth-building machine. Think about the difference. A couple investing $50,000 annually can potentially reach financial independence in less than 15 years. A couple saving only $10,000 annually may spend decades trying to reach the same destination. The gap isn't income. The gap is lifestyle. Unfortunately, most couples never consider this because they're too busy comparing themselves to everyone around them. They see friends living in larger apartments, driving newer vehicles, taking expensive vacations, posting perfect photos online. And they assume that's what success looks like. What they don't see are the credit card balances, financial stress, and constant anxiety hidden behind those pictures. That's why one of the most important conversations any couple can have happens before they combine finances. Not after. Before. Most couples spend months discussing wedding plans, vacations, and future dreams. Yet they spend almost no time discussing money. That's a mistake. Before moving in together, partners should openly discuss debt, savings, spending habits, future goals, children, housing plans, and what financial freedom actually means to them. Because if those conversations don't happen, decisions get made by default. And default decisions usually lead to higher spending and lower savings. That's exactly what happened with Ryan and Emma. They never created a financial vision. They simply upgraded their lifestyle whenever they could. Ethan and Olivia did the opposite. They spent a few uncomfortable hours talking honestly about money. Those few hours influenced the next decade of their lives. Another trap appears once finances become fully merged. Many couples stop paying attention. Everything becomes our money. Yet somehow nobody is truly managing it. Small purchases start piling up. One partner spends a few $100s here. The other spends a few $100s there. Neither purchase seems significant. But month after month, thousands of dollars quietly disappear. Eventually both partners wonder why they aren't making progress. Then come the arguments. Not because one person is irresponsible, but because nobody established a clear plan for where the money should go. That's why accountability matters. Whether finances are fully combined or partially separate isn't the important part. The important part is visibility. Every dollar should have a purpose. Every partner should understand where money is going. And every financial decision should support long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. Then comes the final stage of the two-paycheck trap. The stage most people never see coming. The golden handcuffs. The more your lifestyle depends on two incomes, the less freedom either person has. A better job opportunity that pays slightly less? You can't take it. Starting a business? Too risky. Taking time off with children? Not possible. Changing careers? Out of the question. Every lifestyle upgrade becomes another monthly obligation. Another payment. Another reason both people must keep working whether they want to or not. The irony is painful. Many couples upgrade their lifestyle searching for freedom and happiness. Yet those upgrades often leave them feeling less free than ever. Meanwhile, couples who keep expenses modest gain something far more valuable than luxury. Options. The option to change careers. The option to start a business. The option for one parent to stay home. The option to take risks. The option to prioritize life over income. And ultimately, that's what wealth really provides. Not fancy cars. Not expensive apartments. Freedom. So if you're in a relationship or thinking about moving in with someone, have the money conversation now. Decide what you're optimizing for. Looking wealthy and becoming wealthy are two very different things. Try to keep your lifestyle closer to one income than two. Save aggressively. Invest consistently. And remember this. The biggest advantage of having two incomes isn't spending both. It's having the discipline not to. Most couples fall into the two-paycheck trap because they mistake a larger income for financial security. Then they wake up years later earning more than ever while feeling more stressed than ever. But that doesn't have to be your story. You can choose a different path. You can use a second income to build freedom instead of fund lifestyle inflation. And the earlier you make that choice, the more powerful the results become.